Hello again. Thank you for joining us. This is Space Nuts. My name is Andrew Dunkley. Great to have your company yet again. Coming up on this episode, landslides on Pluto. Yes, apparently so. China pulls off a SpaceX trick, and this is a really interesting story. We'll have to watch our P's and Q's on this, but the White House has established a UFO study group, and guess who's in charge? No, it's not the president. It's someone else, almost as wacky. We'll do all of those stories on this episode of Space Nuts.
15 seconds. Guidance is internal. 10, 9, ignition sequence start.
Space Nuts.
5, 4, 3, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Space Nuts.
Astronauts report it feels good.
And speaking of wacky, we are joined once again by Professor Fred Watson, astronomer at large, sporting a rather significant bump on the head.
Yes, actually, it's two, one bigger than the other. It almost looks like a planet with its moon in orbit around it. As a visual aid.
Yes. Walking into doors will do that to you.
It's what happened, and it's all astronomy's fault, because every night I tend to go out on we've got a terrace that faces north, which is where all the planets are if you're in the southern hemisphere. I usually go out and just have a look at the sky before I go to bed, being an astronomer. And normally I check the screen doors open, but last night I was thinking of something else and I just walked right into the screen door, and it's quite a solid screen door. So
I can see that.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, we've all done it, Fred. We've all done it.
Yeah. I've done it too, but not quite as spectacular as this. Fortunately, if I put a beanie on so I look like a criminal, you don't see the bullet holes. And where we're going next week, I'll probably have to have a hat on all the time anyway. So
yeah. The worst one I ever did was at golf. I had to duck off to the gentleman's room, which they have them all over the golf course, and this one's right up one end of the course. But they've got a water tank next to it, which is shrouded in trees, and I knew it was there, so I ducked. But I didn't duck enough, and my forehead went straight into the metal base that was holding it up, like a big. Oh my gosh! It nearly knocked me out.
I bet it did.
Yeah.
I bet you were a mess.
I had a dreadful headache. There was this awful clang, but no one saw me because I was in the trees.
Yeah.
But that was not good.
No, you're lucky you didn't do yourself one of those brain injuries.
Well, maybe I have, Fred.
Well, it's funny you should mention that, Andrew.
We'll see how things go.
Yes.
Let's get stuck into our stories. The very first story is about landslides. Now, we have our fair share of landslides on Earth. I've seen some dreadful images online of huge, massive landslides in some parts of the world. Yeah. I've not witnessed one close up and personal, thankfully, but I've seen the aftermath of a few in Australia where landslides are not uncommon. And I've seen a few overseas where pieces of mountain have just slipped off, and it can be pretty chaotic, and unfortunately has led to fatalities. I don't think that's a problem on Pluto in terms of fatalities, but it is something that happens, and we've not seen that on Pluto before.
Correct. And just while we're talking about that, you're absolutely right that landslides are playing actually an increasing role on our own planet. As you know, we were up in Greenland at the beginning of beginning of last year, and met online a researcher who'd studied this, basically a landslide in one of the Greenland fjords, where climate change had reduced the height of a glacier, and that glacier was propping up half a mountain. Yeah. Wow. And as it melted, the half mountain gave way and tumbled down the 45-degree slope onto the glacier. Tumbled onto the glacier, down the 45-degree slope into the fjord, and set up this oscillation which I think we talked about a couple of times on Space Nuts. It's called a sesh or a siche, I think, where it's like water swilling from side to side in your bath. But it did it for, 4 days or something? Is it every 9 minutes? It was extraordinary. And that's how it was picked up by the world's seismologists. So a changing climate can increase landslides. Now, we're not saying that's what's happening on Pluto, but there are landslides on Pluto. And of course, pretty well everything we know about Pluto now comes from that flyby of the New Horizons spacecraft. If I remember rightly, it was the 14th of July, 2015, a momentous occasion for astronomers and planetary scientists when we got the first close-ups of the dwarf planet Pluto with that heart-shaped plane, Sputnik Planitia, facing us, that people made into a likeness of Pluto the dog. It was all great stuff. That is mostly sort of slushy or solid nitrogen that makes up that very flat plane. And people think there are glaciers at the edge of that as well. But the basin in which that plane formed was probably caused by an impact billions of years ago that caused a depression in the surface. But we think the surface itself is made pretty well of solid water ice. And so what you've got is this large region on Pluto, which is surrounded by a very fractured landscape. I remember looking at some of the mountains around the edge of that, and they look just like ice cubes at the edge of a drink, and that's probably what they are, because they're 4 kilometers high. You know, these are things that probably were pushed to one side by whatever caused that impact.
Yeah.
But it's in that area around the edge of Sputnik Planitia that these landslides have been found on Pluto, and it's actually some scientists, I think they're in Italy, if I remember rightly, who have, National Research Council in Perugia, in Italy. They have looked more closely at the images that came back from New Horizons, and they've identified, I think it's about half a dozen landslides, which are quite significant in size. But all tend to be around the edge of that flat plane, the Sputnik Planitia.
So they're sliding into the crater. Is that what we're saying?
Well, what we're seeing is actually at least one of them is sliding into a crater. The crater's not far from the edge of Sputnik Planitia, but it's not the edge.
Right.
And what they've done is they've noted, a region in the crater wall that's got a break in it that corresponds with debris on the crater floor. And that's seems to be the smoking gun, if I can put it that way. It's that the biggest of them is huge. It's 130 square kilometers.
Wow.
Which is very large. And certainly would be a very big landslide on planet Earth, and their heights are 1.5 to 2.2 kilometers is what they're talking about. So that's quite a high, a high drop zone, if I can put it that way.
Yes.
And what they're saying is that the material that falls down in the landslide, down the slope, actually goes further into the flat area that it's running into, and in this case, it's the floor of a crater. It goes further than it would do elsewhere in the solar system, for example, on Earth. And what they are suggesting is that means there's less friction in this material, so it goes further over the landscape, and maybe that confirms that what the material is that's sliding down is actually water ice, although they don't say that in the report I've read. That's an inference from me, but it sounds...
It would make sense, though, Fred, because
most
of the surface of Pluto is water ice, and because it's so cold, like minus 230 degrees Celsius, the ice is like rock.
Solid rock, that's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely hard as rock, yeah.
And the mountains on Pluto are massive for a small place.
Yes,
they are huge, like up to 6.2 kilometres in height, 3.9 miles.
Yeah.
Up around the 20,000 feet mark. I mean, that would be a big mountain on Earth.
It would, that's right. And here's a world that's, less than a quarter of the Earth's diameter. It's smaller than the moon. It's remarkable, though. And, all credit to these scientists who've been very patient in their work combing these images for things that look like landslides, because that's the only clue you've got is the appearance from above. The fact that you're seeing maybe material in the side of a crater that's different from the walls of the crater around it, because it's actually fallen down.
Yeah,
remarkable stuff. Yeah.
It is, and we've seen landslides on other planets.
Yes. Yeah, certainly, and also on some of the other moons. Apparently, some of the features on Phobos, which is a very strange little world dominated by a huge crater called Stickney, that has landslides as well. The asteroid Vesta, which the Dawn spacecraft was in orbit around before it went on to Ceres, that's got landslides. And so what they're saying is, you'd expect a world like Pluto also to have landslides, but it's taken 11 years now since the flyby for anyone to find them, but they found the evidence of 6 features that look like landslides.
Actually, as we record, Fred, it's exactly 11 years today.
So it is.
Yeah, I just noticed that.
It is the 14th of July, yes, 2015 it was, that's right. Well, there you go.
And people are saying 14th of July, they're recording on the 14th of July, and this thing's coming out on the 7th of August. What's going on? We're jumping ahead because Fred's got another trip.
Yes, sorry about that, folks.
Not like the trip he had into the screen door last night.
No, I'll try and avoid screen doors in future.
Yes. Now, it's a fascinating story. Landslides probably made of water ice on Pluto. You can read all about it. There's a few places. Phys.org's got a great article about it, and you can also read the paper, which was published in the journal Icarus. This is Space Nuts with Andrew Dunkley and Professor Fred Watson.
Hey, that's one of the better sims, believe me. We've had a couple of cardiac arrests down here too, Pete. There wasn't any time for that up here.
Space Nuts.
Okay, Fred, let's move on to our next story. And we've seen a lot lately about SpaceX and its exploits and its success with reusable boosters that land themselves back on ocean-going platforms and other places. They've had some deconstructive events as well.
Yes.
but a few other players have attempted this not so successfully. Now it looks like China's in on the game.
That's correct. We've had Blue Origin has also managed to do the soft landing trick at least once, I think. But this is the first time we've got a record of a country other than America basically pulling off this trick of grabbing your booster before it's thrown away, landing it softly and saving it for another time. And the fascinating aspect of this, Andrew, is the way it's been done by the China Aerospace Science and Technology Corporation. They have, rather than do this, fine needle control of the rockets, the rockets that are firing to slow down the spacecraft as it descends to Earth, and basically pivoting it down onto its legs, which is certainly what happens with the Falcon 9 rockets. Yeah. SpaceX's Starship actually has what they call them, the chopsticks, these two arms on the launch tower that just grab them and hold it. And in a way, what we're seeing from the Chinese experiment, if I can put it that way, or project, is similar to that, because you're sort of grabbing it, but not with pincers or chopsticks. Basically, you're putting it into a net. As it lands,
I reckon they'd be pretty good at using the chopsticks method.
Yeah. Why did I miss that one? That's a great one. Yeah, they probably would.
They're pretty good at using nets too, though. A lot of net fishing over in Asia.
Yes, that's right. And that's what this is. So the spacecraft lands and into a sort of framework, a huge thing that looks a bit like a bird cage, enormous, but it's got a net in it. And so this thing gets caught in the net, the motor switches off, and it returns and is captured. So the net, they call it a net system, and we haven't really seen any detail about how this works because, it would be, it's fine catching something in a net, but then you've got to get it out of the net and set it up again for another launch. Yeah. With Falcon 9, it's standing there ready to be reloaded onto the launch pad. What is impressive about this, capture of the booster, though, and it's a Long March 10B, I think.
Yes, it is.
That this has been, as with SpaceX, it's a maritime landing. So the rocket comes down to a barge, basically, in the ocean that's equipped with this net, rather than just a platform, which both Blue Origin and SpaceX use. They just have a platform for their returning booster rockets, but this net is a platform, but with a sort of tower attached to it. Really quite remarkable, and yes, a step forward. This is clearly going to enhance the rate at which Chinese spacecraft are launched. So we'll see probably much more of it in the future.
Yes, and look, you've got to give them a lot of credit. China has just burst ahead in leaps and bounds when it comes to the space race and space technology. Yep. They've got their little rover on the dark side of the moon, and they've got their space station up there, which we've mentioned in the last few weeks is being expanded. And now they've managed to do something that only a few have done before, and that is to return a booster down onto a floating platform. And who knows what they'll achieve next? They're just they're quite a remarkable entity when it comes to the space. I call it the space race. I don't really like that,
no.
but it is. I mean, look what's happening with the push to get people back on the moon. China's well into that race, and the Americans are fighting very hard to get people back there with the Artemis missions.
Yep.
So it's no holds barred at the moment. Thought you'd find this interesting, Fred. Remember the floating platforms that SpaceX used to land their rockets? They all had really funny names.
They do, that's right.
Of Course I Still Love You was one of them.
I think that was the first.
Just read the instructions.
Yeah.
That was off the Florida coast. The first one I mentioned was in the Pacific, and a shortfall of gravitas, which was also an East Coast Atlantic operation. So what do you think the Chinese have called theirs?
I don't have that information, and I'm not sure I want to guess.
Ling Hangshu, which stands for navigator.
Yeah, it's nice.
Call it navigator.
Yes, I like that. Nice.
It's pretty good. I wouldn't have thought they'd have gone too far outside the limits of normality in terms of a name. They would. That's a particular Elon Musk thing, I think.
It is. That's certainly true. And normally, a lot of Chinese names, in terms of their spacecraft and things like that, have got names that come from Chinese mythology. You know, there's the relay spacecraft that communicates both with the Earth and the lander on the far side of the moon. I think it translates as Magpie Bridge, which is, I can't remember what the name is, but I think it translates as Magpie Bridge, which comes from a Chinese folk tale of some sort. It's lovely.
Yeah. I can't wait to see what they do next.
No.
And this actual success the Chinese have demonstrated has started a lot of chatter between people about where things are at between the United States and China in space. So it is noticed. It's not something that is being ignored in the United States, but it is being noticed most definitely.
Yeah, certainly.
And look, they've made history. This one will be remembered because it's their first success at this level. I think they've had sort of a few rockets that have been partially recovered. I don't know what that means exactly, but this is like a self-landing situation, and it works very, very well. You can read all about it at the space.com website. You're listening to Space Nuts with Andrew Dunkley and Professor Fred Watson.
Roger, you're loud and clear here also.
Space Nuts.
Now, Fred, we come to a rather saucy story, this one. And look, I even, in reading the article, noticed that they did a little preamble at space.com before they ran the story. It says, we approach this topic with the same rigour we apply in our respective scientific fields, and we hope to provide an unbiased analysis of this topic. We hope to. I think they did a pretty good job. But what we're talking about is a White House group that has been formed to study UAPs, unidentified anomalous phenomena, formerly known as UFOs, unidentified flying objects. And I asked at the beginning of the show, who's in charge? Would you care to reveal that, Fred?
It is, yes. It's our old friend Avi Loeb, who is the Harvard astronomer, a very senior astronomer, very well thought of in the world of astrophysics, except when he talks about UFOs. He's the person who's, looked at things like, does Comet 3I Atlas have windows or anything that might tell you that it is not a natural object, that it is artificially made? That's the interstellar comet that's flying through the solar system at the moment. It is a comet, and not a piece of alien hardware, but
and yet, Fred, I've had people come up to me and say, "Oh, did you hear about that comet? They think it's a spaceship," and I go, "Oh, no, it's not."
Yeah.
It's not.
Only one person does.
Yeah,
actually,
and that's okay. That's okay, but it's the popular press, as I like to call them, that fuel this stuff.
That's right. It is. So there have been moves to, certainly with the freedom of information stuff that we've seen, the idea of these unidentified anomalous phenomena are now very much in the mainstream because we've got footage taken with infrared cameras from aircraft and things of that sort that show.
That's right, and
objects.
we did do a story on it probably in the last couple of years, maybe longer, where NASA really looked into this and admitted that, look, we can't explain everything. We can't.
Yeah.
Something's going on. We just don't know what it is.
That's right.
They're not saying they're from outer space, though.
That's correct. There's no evidence that they're of alien origin, which suggests they're either natural phenomena or somebody's doing stuff that the US military doesn't know about.
And I'd put it in that basket myself.
Yes, I think that's probably it. So this council, it's a new body that is now being chaired by Avi Loeb. It's called the UAP Science Advisory Council, and that I think is a good name because it tells you that we're looking at the science, not the fiction. And I think it's brought together quite a large group of experts. I looked down the list of people. It's a big council, not 2 or 3 people. There's about 20, I think, probably altogether. It's and these are people who come from very different backgrounds: computer scientists, psychologists, military people, a retired Navy admiral, an economist, lots and lots of physicists, of course, as well, biosciences, a vast array of different disciplines, which is going to essentially look at the evidence, I suppose, and where that might lead. Now, with Avi Loeb in charge, you you might naturally think, and this may be true, that he would lean towards always the more sensational end of the explanations. Maybe he will, maybe he'll perhaps resist those temptations. His point has always been that, unless you think outside the box, we're never going to discover anything really unusual and really interesting. And yes, I think most scientists applaud that, but it's the sensationalism that is built around some of his ideas that some scientists object to quite strongly. I've heard people really say, fairly damning things about Avi Loeb because he's profited by it. He's written books that sensationalize some of the ideas of UAPs. So we'll have to see how that goes. But I thought it was a very intriguing news item. It means the Pentagon, I think, it's actually the White House that's started this, but the Pentagon is certainly involved. They're taking things a step further in regard to trying to sort out what unidentified anomalistic phenomena are.
I think we'd all like to know.
We would all like to know, exactly.
Jokes aside, something's going on out there. And they are seeing things that defy normality when it comes to maneuverability and speed. And like these things can travel at speeds that are unthinkable and maneuver in ways that a standard aircraft could not achieve. Like, we don't know why. We don't know what they are. We don't know who's doing it. And it's not every single one they've seen. A lot of these things are explainable.
Yes.
It reminds me of a doco I saw many, many years ago of a witness. They took footage of a UFO flying across a mountain range in the United States. And it just looked like a classic cigar-shaped thing with portals on the side moving across the horizon, and you'd naturally go, that's a flying saucer. But when they analysed it, they realised that because of the circumstances in the atmosphere at that time, a lot of the detail of the object was obscured.
Yes.
And what you were actually seeing was just the cabin of a light aircraft. So you've got to take it all with a grain of salt or whatever, because most of these things can be explained. And I also suggest that a lot of the ones that can't be explained are probably quite natural or normal or man-made.
Yes. These
handful of things that they've been seeing, particularly off the coast of the United States, defy logic. And that's probably what this group is all about, trying to figure this out.
The article that you mentioned that we're talking about from space.com, I think, is that right? Space.com?
Yes, it is.
Also includes a rather nice graphic which has come from the Pentagon. It's Pentagon's All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office. And what they've done is they've collected these UAP reports, or UFO reports as we used to call them, from 1996 to 2023. That's a fair number of years. And they've done basically a statistical analysis on them. And so there's a bar chart that shows what sort of altitude these objects are reported at, and it's typically about 20,000 feet, a bit less than what most commercial jets fly at, 20,000 to 25,000 feet. But also there are, basically what we call the morphology, the shape of these things. There's a breakdown of that, and almost half of them are spherical, some sort of sphere, and that actually kind of suggests to me something natural, because a lot of things turn spherical in nature.
Yeah.
But there's also typical characteristics. And what I thought was most interesting was a map of the world that's got the reported UAP hotspots on it. And they are the east and west coast of the USA, a lot in the Persian Gulf region. That's a hot spot at the moment, yes.
Very interesting.
And also in northern China. And, but, these are sort of mid-latitudes, just a strip of them in the northern hemisphere. Nothing pretty well anywhere else. I mean, there are thought to be things that might be called hotspots where people think they've seen something in other parts of the world. But these reported UAP hotspots are very much in those middle latitudes in the northern hemisphere.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Well, it can mean two things. They are there for a specific reason because of the target areas, or we're just not seeing them in other places because it's not as heavily monitored.
Yes, a selection effect. That could be true.
Could be either of those.
Anyway, we, notwithstanding all that, we await with interest to see what the deliberations of this new council are and whether they come up with anything concrete that we can say about these UAPs. Yes,
well, hopefully they'll come up with something concrete, although they're probably not made of concrete. But I'd got to say at the bottom of the space.com article, there's some comments from readers, and I love some of the thoughts. One person says, UFO chatter is finally getting a serious data-driven treatment. Someone else says, given Loeb's track record, how could he possibly keep it rigorous? Someone else says, good luck to Professor Loeb and his highly esteemed team of professional men and women. My favourite, though, is this one. Guess the Ghostbusters were unavailable.
Yes.
That's, I love it. I love it.
There you go.
People are awesome. They are. They just come up with some really good lines sometimes. If you want to read all about that new group, it's probably all over the internet everywhere, but space.com's done a very, very good article on it with all the bells and whistles. And I think we're just about done. Fred, thank you very much.
Well, that went very quickly, Andrew. Maybe it is just that we're both losing it and it's time's passing without us knowing.
Indeed. I'll catch you very soon, though.
I hope so. Look forward to it. Cheers for now.
Professor Fred Watson, Astronomer at Large. And don't forget to visit our website in between episodes and check it out. There's plenty to see and do. Of course, all our episodes are there. You can also send us messages or questions via the Ask Me Anything tab at the top. It's labelled AMA. You can sign up for the Astronomy Daily news feed and get astronomical news piped straight to your email. Everybody loves that stuff, and plenty more to see and do. You can even become a supporter, and we don't ask that you do that. It's not mandatory, but if you're interested, you can certainly go and have a look. And thanks to Hugh in the studio, who can't be with us today. He got a phone call from R.B. Loeb asking strange questions about his very odd car. Yeah. And from me, Andrew Dunkley, thanks for your company. We'll see you on the next episode of Space Nuts, coming soon. Bye-bye.
Space Nuts. You've been listening to the Space Nuts podcast.
Mission complete, Houston.
Available at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or your favourite podcast player. You can also stream on demand at Bytes.com.
This has been another quality podcast production from Bytes.com.